Hey, what's up guys, Jesse here from JP Modified. Around last month, Bangood contacted me and asked if we were willing to feature, products that I would choose or I would like on their website. Now, some of you may know and some of you may not. Bangood.com is a huge online reseller, much like Amazon and Newegg. However, it's more popular or much stronger in Asia. A lot of times I purchase stuff from Bangood that have nothing to do with computers, usually with my RC and other stuff that I may need. This time around, since they asked for a co-op, I went and browsed through their pages and saw one particular case that I was really interested in. It's a CEMO A4. Now, it's a mini ITX case. It was published as aluminum and tempered glass. I was really curious to build in a very small form factor PC. Now, we've built smaller PCs before, but none of them really ever qualified for ITX in terms of size. We've built in a Case Labs, we've built in a Corsair, we've built in several smaller cases, but this one is by far the smallest one. What drew me to it is the price. Now, you get aluminum and tempered glass for such a low price, which you could normally find at a higher price with more popular brands. So long story short, that's what I requested and it's what they sent me. Here's the build video. So that was it, the CEMO or CEMO A4 case. Now, the footage we had was, relatively pretty small. because it's again such a small case and I really didn't do much to it. The target here was to show you guys the buildability in this PC. Now, wanted to water cool in it. I wanted to do some really crazy stuff with it, but personally I would think that that would defeat the whole purpose of promoting a case, which I do too much custom work on, which in return would probably be very hard for guys who just build regular builds. Now, as expected, when it arrived, the case had a very premium feel to it. Now, it's made out of anodized aluminum. It had tempered glass, and it didn't have any rivets on it. They were all screws. So for those of you who want to customize the paint and stuff like that, it's easy to take apart the case. Now, as far as storage option goes, it would depend on what kind of GPU you use. In this build, we used the Founders Edition 2080 Ti because it was the only GPU I had without the water block, or without a water block. So since that GPU is really big, it took up most of the space at the back, which probably would have been for a storage option. So by default, I think you could probably only fit in an SSD there. Barely or no room for a mechanical hard drive unless you go with the smaller GPUs. I was, however, able to cram in 3 of my SSDs in there because I'm using it. It's the PC right here at the back, and I can't go without those 3 SSDs. No problem with my main drive because since I'm using a FireCoda NVMe. I would have also had more room to fit in cables and all that if I used a smaller PSU. However, unfortunately, we had only an ATX, or a standard sized PSU. So it was really cramped up inside. We also decided to only use air cooling since it was probably the wiser choice for this case. After we built it, we fired her up. The temperatures were really high. It was mainly because of the tempered glass. It was sitting so close to, there was barely any space in between the GPU, and there was also barely any space in between the CPU cooler that we used. So since I was planning on using it as a everyday PC, I decided to just ditch the tempered glass and make an acrylic cover or side panel with just slits on the sides. Now, it improved the temperatures drastically. My GPU is around the 80s mark. It's a little bit high, but yes, it's a Founders Edition card. Especially here, they normally reach the 80s. The processor, however, is very cool. I've never gone past 70. Now, we hit the 90s with the tempered glass, so there's a lot of work to be done in order for the CEMO to be an actual workhorse PC. So my final thoughts are: is the CEMO a good case? Yes, it's a good case. It has solid structure, very decent build quality. The price is really hard to beat. However, I wish that they kind of ditched the tempered glass and used just another aluminum panel with holes, like we see in most ITX cases, because the temperatures are really horrible without the openings I made. So since it's a relatively small case, I think the height is around about a foot and a little bit more than a foot wide. So it doesn't take much work to make your own acrylic custom panel, or just leave it open, or do whatever you want with it to improve the temperatures. Now, I will tell you guys this though, I'm really liking the layout of the case, so I will definitely be back with a more custom water-cooled small PC to it. Now, we're gonna have to design custom distribution plates and custom reservoirs, and we're gonna have to find a smaller pump in order to fit it in there, but it's definitely going to be one of our projects in the near future. So if the CEMO A4 sparks your interest, or if you think that you can do something good with this case, links at the description below. Now, currently we're working on 2 projects. So one build is really high profile, so you might want to stay tuned for that. It's nearing the completion stages. We've already shot most of the footage on it, so I think there's only a few minor details that I'm going to add onto that build. Another build is my personal PC. It's going to be shown at this corner right here. It's also almost done. So that's it. This has been Jesse of JP Modified. See you guys next week. Mod on.